Today on the Big 3 in 30, the Thunder dominate the Lakers.
Historic win, another 30-plus point victory.
The Rockets rally past Phoenix.
This game felt personal for the Suns.
And the Raptors roll against the Heat.
There was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. This was a must-win game for the Raptors.
This is the Big 3 in 30 NBA. The three biggest stories in the NBA from our local experts at the Locked On Podcast Network. We bring you the real story, why it matters, what's next, who wins the big game, and more, all in 30 minutes. The Big 3 in 30 NBA starts now. Thank you for making the Big 3 in 30 your first listen of the day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. The Thunder didn't just beat the Lakers last night. Oklahoma City overwhelmed them and kept looking every bit like a team ready for another deep postseason run. Locked On Thunder host Rylan Stiles breaks down the recap.
What are your thoughts on the Thunder's historic win, another 30-plus point victory for Oklahoma City, and another beatdown of the Los Angeles Lakers?
I think the most impressive thing was that it was just a take care of business performance. And I know that the Lakers didn't have Luka, LeBron, Austin Reeves, Marcus Smart. So this was not the Lakers, right? But you still got to play NBA talent. It's still on the road. You still got to take care of business. You can't kind of play with your food. And the Lakers, they came out and they were competitive for a while. Halfway through the second quarter, this game was tied 42-42. So credit to the Lakers for keeping it close for a while. And then the Thunder just took care of business. They closed the first half on a 23-5 run. I think the most impressive part, besides just taking care of business, was the three-point shooting. I mean, the team as a whole shot better from the three-point line than the Lakers shot from the free throw line. The Thunder were 21 of 41 on the night for 51%. Just a great three-point shooting performance. And when this Thunder team is hitting from deep, they're just unbeatable because, Shea's going to get his 30. The defense is going to be elite every night. And if role players are hitting their threes and they're anywhere near 40%, just good luck beating this team.
Good luck beating them. And that's what we've talked about all season long, Brandon. It's about this team being streaky, but capable shooters. And it's just what version of them are you going to get? And that's why three-point shooting, I think, is safely a weakness for them, of that it's the unknown of yes, they might come out and look like gangbusters from beyond the arc and just light the nets on fire. And at that point, I agree with you. If this Thunder team is hitting an above average number of threes in any game to an above average percentage, they're unbeatable. You can talk about all the talent you want to in Boston and in San Antonio and in Denver. But if Oklahoma City can cash in from beyond the arc, you know that they do everything else at a championship level, and you just cannot overcome all of the different ways that the Thunder can beat you at that point. Now, where you get some advantages when the Thunder do not have a good three-point shooting night, when they have that below average to bad offensive production from distance, it allows you to kind of make up some of that area and catch the Thunder, so to say. And that's been a direct tie to a lot of their losses this year. It's been injuries and it's been poor three-point shooting. But I'm glad that you kept referencing taking care of business, because I get it, folks. This was a game against Drew Timme. Drew Timme started an NBA game today. Drew Timme started for the Los Angeles Lakers. The Lakers, not the South Bay Lakers. The Lakers, playing in the arena formerly known as Staples Center, where the greats have played. Andrew Timme. And I think that whenever you look at that, yes, it's not impressive to win this game on that regard, but it is impressive to go out and handle your business. And it's not that long ago, Brandon. This season has flown by. We were talking at the end of December, at the start of January. Look, I don't think that this team is hungover, we were saying, but we thought perhaps the 0-0 mentality and the 1 of 82 mentality was a bygone era for this team coming off of a championship. And at that time, at that juncture of the season, it was correct to question that, because even in their wins, they did not start out with the appropriate energy, with the appropriate attention to detail, with the appropriate outcome. And they happened to win it in the second half because they were just more talented. Now you look at the run that they've been on to close this season, they're approaching every game with the proper focus, the proper intensity, the proper energy, and they're getting the proper results. We talked about this being historic. Brandon, the Thunder, according to this Twitter account that I follow called @Brandon on Twitter, the Thunder are the first team in NBA history to win 3 straight games by 35 plus points. And they've won their last 3 games by 43, 35, 36. It's been a complete and total domination for this club. And I think that when you look at this, obviously, does this game matter? Like these 48 minutes to me, Brandon, they don't individually matter, but they matter in terms of shaping context. Like the stuff you saw today that you've seen over a body of work of the last quarter of the season, the last half of the season, or the entire season. That's stuff that matches what you felt about this team through any of those segments. That's the part that matters, that you feel confident enough to extrapolate out into the future and take into next week and the coming weeks and the NBA playoffs. And that's where this game did matter from the standpoint of taking care of business and from the standpoint of guys like Isaiah Joe and improved Chet Holmgren. These things being reaffirmed on the court, Brandon.
Yeah, absolutely. It's almost like you can take this Thunder season into 3 separate segments. They started off 24-1, coming off of that championship. And again, they looked unbeatable. And there was all the talk of, can they get to 70 wins? Can they get to 74 wins or break the all-time record? And then it made sense. They had a midseason, by their standards, slump, in which they, by their standards, struggled a little bit. But I think, all those injuries that they sustained and finally kind of coming off of all that momentum that you had from the championship and the 24-1 start, it made sense. But this renewed focus, now they are 18-1 in their last 19 games. So if you take the beginning part of the season and this last part of the season, which, by the way, the last part of the season has been against some really good competition, like take tonight, take the Jazz, but they've beaten some really good playoff teams and some contending teams during this stretch. The first segment and the last segment, they are now 42-2 in those 2 beginning and ending segments combined. Pretty impressive start and finish to the season.
And I think that it's great to highlight that because this team is a win away from going wire to wire as the number 1 seed in the Western Conference. And how quickly that we change the flavor of the month, as we say on this show, to like San Antonio being all about they're the new kids on the block. They're coming for the Thunder. They're coming to dominate the NBA. All the Spurs are legitimate, true contenders, but you also can't lose sight of the fact that the Spurs have done all this winning recently, and they have felt so unbeatable, and they have felt so incredible. And yet the Thunder have won at the same clip because they continue to have that 1 seed. They've continued to stave off San Antonio, even as San Antonio has that tiebreaker in hand, which should help you and now won't even come into play if OKC can get one more.
The tournament is here, one of the best times of the year. Brackets, buzzer beaters, upsets, it's non-stop action from tip to final cutdown. And right now, FanDuel is giving new customers a way to stay in the action all tournament long. Here's how it works. You can get up to $300 back in bonus bets every single day for 10 days. That means 10 chances to stay involved throughout the entire tournament. You can mix it up however you want. Games, futures, or same-game parlays for even bigger payouts. It's perfect for the tournament because every day there's something new. Different matchups, new storylines, and more ways to get involved as the bracket unfolds. So visit FanDuel.com to sign up today. That's FanDuel.com to get in on the action. It's tax time, but for a lot of us, the old way of doing taxes is a lot. Trying to book an appointment that's not the most convenient, sitting in a waiting room with a stack of papers, emailing back and forth and wondering if they really get your situation. But this year you're getting a major upgrade. Intuit TurboTax now has in-person locations nationwide. You can meet face-to-face with a real tax expert, and your documents get uploaded straight to your TurboTax app on the spot. And just like that, you're done. Your TurboTax expert works to get you every dollar you deserve, while you get real-time notifications as you go about your day. It's the relief of walking in and meeting a real person, and walking out knowing your taxes are being handled right. Head to TurboTax.com/local to find a store near you and book your appointment. Welcome back to the Big 3 in 30 NBA. Houston stormed back to beat Phoenix last night, turning a rough start into another big win as the Rockets keep building momentum late in the season. Jackson Gatlin of Locked On Rockets has the full reaction.
119-105 final score. And man, this final score does not illustrate just how bad this game felt for the first, 12 or so minutes. This game felt personal for the Suns. There were a lot of firsts in this game. This was Kevin Durant's first time facing the Suns in Phoenix, because reminder, he missed the earlier game this season in Phoenix. This was Jalen Green's first time playing against the Rockets at all in any capacity this season. And you could certainly feel it, like with kind of, ramifications, as far as Western Conference playoff seeding goes, and it being this late in the season and both teams wanting to play their best brand of basketball going into the playoffs. This game felt like a playoff style game, playoff intensity, playoff vibes. And honestly, like, the Suns took it personally and they came out and they were the aggressors early on, right? Like, the Rockets looked woefully unprepared to start this game. Phoenix goes up 16-5, and then that lead ballooned out to like 26-5. I think at one point was the worst stretch to start this game for the Rockets. The Suns at one point had a 24-0 run in the first quarter. Like, that's how bad it was for the Rockets. Yeah, they were trailing 26-5 at one point, down 21. That was as bad as it got about halfway through the first quarter. And I'll tell you what, it did not look like it was going to be a great game from that point on. Rockets managed to lock in after that miserable start, though. It was a rough start. Kevin Durant was awful to start the game. Alperen Sengun was awful to start the game. The Rockets did not look like they were ready to deal with the Suns. The Suns were treating this like, again, they wanted revenge on the Rockets, right? Jalen Green came out with a personal vendetta against the Rockets. Kevin Durant did not look great against his former team, right? Whether it's nerves, what have you, the emotions of the first game back for him in Phoenix. There's a lot going on in this game. But the way that the Rockets are able to turn this one around is they dialed up their number one strength, the strength that has been at times a bit of a flaw for this team throughout the season, and they flat out crushed the Suns on the offensive glass, generated so many extra opportunities just to shoot the ball. Rockets finished with 100 field goal attempts in this game. The Suns only had 75. Now, granted, the Suns went to the free throw line 39 times, so that certainly helps make up that deficit a little bit, but it also doesn't account for the fact, like, when you factor in the Rockets went to the free throw line 16 times and you look at the delta between those two, 23 extra free throws does not quite equate to 25 flat out extra shot attempts, right? And that's what the Rockets did. They flat out dominated the glass. They attacked the offensive glass relentlessly, and they came away the better for it in this game. And they were able to slowly but surely dig themselves out of the deficit that they created for themselves in the first quarter. They finished this game plus 20 in the second chance points department, 37-17. As a team, the Rockets had 24 offensive rebounds as a team. To put that in perspective, the Suns as a team had 24 defensive rebounds as an entire team. The Rockets had as many offensive rebounds as the Suns did defensive rebounds in this game. Just straight up dominance on the glass. 55 rebounds overall. And you got it from a little bit from everybody. In fact, I think pretty much everybody that played like actual rotation minutes, except for Aaron Holiday, was the only Rocket to not record an offensive rebound that actually got meaningful rotation minutes in this game. Across the board, Alperen Sengun had 7 offensive rebounds. Amin Thompson had 6 offensive rebounds. Tari had 4 offensive rebounds, including that really big one where he, I guess I don't know if that one counts, where he tied up Devin Booker. That would have been a jump ball, but still, like, another great moment, generating an extra possession, right? Because that was a big moment later in the game. Couple offensive rebounds for Josh Okogie, and then across the board, a smattering of ones for KD, Jabari. Like, even Reed Shepherd had an offensive rebound, right? Like, and a putback immediately afterwards. The offensive rebounding was the Rockets' lifeline in this game. It kept them afloat between a combination of Kevin Durant being woken up by Dillon Brooks. We'll talk about that key moment. We'll talk about the Dillon Brooks KD stuff, as well as the Alperen Sengun and Min Thompson takeover at the top of the fourth quarter as a couple of the key inflection points in this game. But through a combination of Kevin Durant's offense getting going in the second quarter and the Rockets just leaning so heavily into the offense, rebounding and the second chance points, as well as their defense dialing it up. Like the Suns basically got whatever they wanted in the first quarter. They were feasting. They were knocking down threes. They were living in the paint. Suns wound up shooting 61%, just under 61% in the first quarter, and 50% from three. And then in each subsequent quarter after that, the Rockets held them to just 25% shooting in the second quarter, and then just 33% shooting in the third quarter. And then fourth quarter, at least before, until like the very, very, very end of the game when it was kind of, pretty much almost over, 44%. So, I mean, Rockets basically locked in defensively in those middle two quarters, the second quarter, the third quarter. You could tell too, there was a point where the Rockets came back, and when they really started to mount their rally, right, they came back and they were playing like a more aggressive physical team. They came out and, like, I'll agree with any of Ime Udoka's usual coachisms about this team. They were getting punked. They were getting out hustled. They were getting outworked. They were getting out physicaled. They didn't have the right aggression. All the different buzzwords you want to throw out there. That is exactly how this team was playing to start the game. And then it wasn't even really the first full 12 minutes, because they started to like respond after that timeout where it was 26-5. They came back and they rallied back after that, right? Because the rest of the way from that point on, they held the Suns to just 11 more points after that point on. They themselves outscored the Suns 16-11 after that timeout, and then carrying some of that momentum from the first quarter and then rallying into the second quarter and then subsequently the third quarter, to be able to put themselves in position for the group at the top of the fourth to do what they did to ultimately take over and seal this game and seal this win. But I also think the number one takeaway from this, before we move on and talk about kind of the key moments from this game, the key stretches, the inflection points, this showed a ton of mental resiliency from this Rockets team. And they've shown that repeatedly now, like after the losses against the Bulls, the collapse against the Wolves, and then having that team meeting, kind of rallying the troops a little bit. This team could have just rolled over and died right after that embarrassing loss to the Wolves. That could have been a breaking point for this team. Like that ridiculous, historic OT loss could have been the dagger that just sunk this ship, right? Tore the sails to shreds, whatever, dead in the water, whatever analogies you want to use. Instead, the Rockets responded in a big way, and now they've got all this momentum. And I think this type of game, right, winning this way, going down big early and then rallying and coming back, because they had to rally and come back against the Wolves. They just couldn't quite complete the comeback. And then it went to OT, and then they just couldn't deliver an OT, right? Go up big and then lose that lead. This showed a lot of mental maturity from this Rockets team to go down that big against a team that you have a lot of emotions and history tied up with the Kevin Durant trade and all this stuff, and former teammates on both sides, Kevin Durant, Jalen Green, Dillon Brooks, all that good stuff. And yet they turned around. They didn't just mope and pout and mail it in and, we went down 21, whatever, let the Suns coast to win. No, they grinded it out. They played their brand of basketball. They locked in defensively. They got on the offensive glass, and they dragged themselves back into this game. And then they took it over later on. Once Alperen Sengun knocked the rust off and got back to playing his brand of basketball in the fourth quarter, they took off. It's a great game. I think it might be the best game of the season. Might be the best win of the season for me in my book.
Spring is a natural reset point, and if there's one thing that can quietly cost businesses money, it's messy communication. Missed calls, scattered texts, no clear thread of who said what. That's why today's episode is brought to you by Quo, spelt Quo, the smarter way to run your business communications. Quo is the #1 rated business phone system on G2 with over 3,000 reviews, trusted by more than 90,000 businesses. It lets your entire team share one business number so you never miss a call, text, or opportunity. Everything lives in one clean thread. Calls, texts, voicemails. The whole team sees the conversation, so nothing falls through the cracks. It just makes your business feel more organized and responsive. Make this the season no opportunity and no customer slips away. Try Quo free and get 20% off your first 6 months at quo.com/lockedonnba. That's quo.com/lockedonnba. Quo, no missed calls, no missed customers. Welcome back to the Big 3 and 30 NBA. Toronto rolled past Miami, and the Raptors keep climbing behind a strong push from their core as the East standings tighten up. Zulfi Sheik and Dwayne Notice from Locked On Raptors take you through their game reaction.
There was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. This was a must-win game for the Raptors if they wanted to avoid the play-in. And look, they controlled their destiny, quite honestly. I know there's 3.5 games between seeds 5 through 10. The Raptors were above Philly. They have a game in hand against Philadelphia. So this like home and home set, I guess, basically against the Heat was a must-win situation. And to the Raptors' credit, they came out with that sense of urgency and desperation they needed. They shot 50% from the field, 43% from deep, but they also didn't settle in this game. Dominated inside for 70 points in the paint. They were plus 36 there. They're now 23-2 when they score at least 60 points in the paint. So again, getting inside means good things. They held the Heat, mind you, the #2 scoring team in the NBA, to just to under 100 points for just the 6th time this season. And the Raptors are actually a team that's done that to them 3 times. So half the times the Heat hasn't scored 100 points, it's been because of the Raptors. Miami shot 36% from the field, 27% from deep. Scottie and BI were also awesome. They had 25 and 23. It's the first time since February 4th that they both had 20 points in the same game. Bench was also great, 37 points from the bench. Shed with 11 assists, Mama with 11. Jacoby hit 9 threes. So like I said, this was a top-to-bottom effort, Dwayne. How impressed were you to see the Raptors come out with this result? And again, a must-win for them.
Yeah, a must-win indeed, but I was super impressed, Z, because I didn't expect this at all. I thought it was going to be a much closer game or a struggle, especially with how the Raptors have been playing recently, but they really appeared to be locked in. Even from the jump ball, the first possession for the Raptors was a design play for for BI to go downhill. He got to his left hand, nice layup. It seems very intentional. We talk about the intentional offense. So the Raptors were on the same page there. You mentioned their defense. I think that they weren't in too many scramble situations. Their rotations were tighter. The secondary help was actually there. They caused a lot of turnovers, and they were able to run out because of it. But I think the Raptors did a great job today just setting the tone and keeping the tone for the rest of the game. Obviously, the Heat didn't play their best basketball, and we know the Heat is accustomed to, they say Heat culture, and that was absent tonight. But the Raptors took advantage of it, and you mentioned that the paint dominance was incredible, just seeing them not settle. The Heat did something we haven't seen in a while, which is play the zone against the Raptors for a larger part of the game. And the Raptors, I thought, did a great job of handling that, just getting to the nose of the defense. Too many times we saw, a guy like RJ or a guy like Scottie flash to the middle part of the zone. And I think, again, they were able to wreak havoc because of it, make great decisions, whether it was passing it down low to the interior passing. Raptors are great at that, or just finishing. But it also created a lot of second chance opportunities, right? When you're in a zone, it's hard because as a defender, you're guarding a spot, you're not guarding a man. And because of that, it's harder to box out. And we saw CMB, we saw guys like Jacoby Walter get a second 3 off of offensive rebound. So I think they were just really well tuned today and sound. And it was really impressive to see. But going forward, you have to know that the Heat are going to come out on Thursday wanting that get back because they didn't play the kind of basketball they're accustomed to playing. But I was super impressed with how the Raptors played from top to bottom. I'm actually extremely happy with the fact that IQ is back, and I know he's not 100%, but just having one of your main guys back, your facilitators, your guys that can shoot the ball, stretch the floor, even not having him at 100, he can still be a decoy. So his presence definitely influenced the Raptors' offense and elevated it to another level. So I like that. And again, him and Jakob Porto just getting in that 2-man action and making things happen for other players. So again, IQ's return was definitely big for the Raptors getting this win, but I was overall impressed today.
Yeah, I think those are a lot of really good points there, Dwayne. Emmanuel quickly, like you said, he did come back after missing 8 games with plantar fasciitis. He played 17 minutes. He is on a minutes restriction, obviously, as he's ramping back up. 3 points, 1 of 3 shooting. It's obviously going to be a bit rusty coming off that, but he had a couple assists as well. His activity was really good. But like you said, it was a top-down effort, and they were all committed to the things they had to do properly. Rebounding, I thought, was a fantastic part for the Raptors game tonight. And it was guys like CMB off the bench with 8 rebounds, being super active on the glass. Jakob Poeltl was attacking the glass, which is something we did not see against the Celtics. He got beat down in that matchup. He had more rebounds in the first 3 minutes of this game than he had in 20 minutes against the Celtics. That's how much of a difference it was and how much that helped the Raptors. You mentioned the second chance points because of that rebounding. The Raptors had 23 second chance points to Miami 6. So again, it was just creating extra opportunities. They were capitalizing on it. And another thing was it was closing possessions for them. Like that's the big thing. When you get into a possession battle against teams when you're not the greatest 3-point shooting team, losing those extra chances really hurts the Raptors. The last 3 games, the Raptors had given up 44 offensive rebounds. So the coaching staff said at halftime of this game on the broadcast, like that's a priority. We want to keep that up, close possessions, and be able to get going on offense how we want to play and dictate the pace. So that really helped the Raptors tonight. And we talked about the things they did defensively. How about limiting Bam Adebayo to 7 points on 2 of 13 shooting? This dude was quiet entire game. 83 points on who? Definitely not the Raptors. Like he was shut down this game. I thought Scotty and CMB were great, but also I'll give Jakob Poeltl his credit. Dude was moving his puppies out there for a guy his size and obviously a ground-bound big. Like I'm sure you can appreciate seeing a 7-footer like him do this. Like Bam was just trying to dance around outside the perimeter a lot, and Jakob Poeltl, credit to him, was really keeping up. So I thought that was awesome. But like you said, like all-around effort, guys were committed. They were consistent with the game plan. And the Raptors got to bear the fruit because of it. And now, Dwayne, I want to get your thoughts on the second quarter specifically, because that's when I felt like everything really hit a flow state for the Raptors.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
Yeah, Dwayne, really fun second quarter for the Raptors. They outscored the Heat by 8 in that quarter. They shot 54%. Miami was held to just 33. It also included a 19-4 run where I just felt like everyone understood their roles, kind of to what you were saying earlier. BI and RJ, they were doing all the tough shot taking and making. I think they had 7 and 5 points each. The bench guys were doing simple things, but it was effective. Shed kind of managing the offense, running the game, but he was also taking advantage when the Heat, like you said, that zone that the Heat play, and they play the most zone in the NBA. He made them pay for it once when they went under on a screen. He had a nice little step back 3. Mamu attacking closeouts, being aggressive. He had 6 points, 2 of 2 from the field in the second. And CMB, again, just everywhere defensively. The dude was plus 16 in the second quarter, and he just had 2 points and a steal. Like, he dominated his minutes. And then also, like you said, Scotty Barnes just doing everything against that Heat zone, just constantly crashing middle, cleaning things up off the glass as well. Just a lot of good activity from him. So, like, everyone kind of hit a flow in that second quarter. And just to me, it was just like, this is what Raptors basketball can look like when they're really taking advantage of things and people know their roles.
Yeah, everybody being aligned, being on the same page, and we mention it all the time, but being a star in their own role, not doing too much, not forcing the issue. Even guys like BI, I felt like today he was way more patient. Even seeing the double teams, allowing them to come to him, he was able to make the right plays. I like that he caught the ball a lot in the middle part of the floor, right around that nail area, because it allows you to see from both sides, to see the complete floor on the offensive end, whether it's a zone or a man. You're able to see the help defense, where they're loading up, and he was very patient. He used a lot of pivots today, and that interior, and then it made it easier for him when he started making tougher shots throughout the game. But you mentioned that everybody in their activity was outstanding tonight. I think everybody understood the magnitude of this basketball game, and they approached it like so. They were super locked in, playing in front of their home crowd, just understanding that, you know, what's at stake. And I think they stepped up to the challenge tonight. And you mentioned a guy like Jakob Poeltl, like, man, the way he's able to move his feet, very nimble out there. And Bam is definitely one of those tweener bigs, right? He's not always going to get you back to the basket. He's going to try and take you as far away as he can from the net and try to dance. And like you said, he did a great job of staying in front, not biting. But also shout out to the guys like Scotty, who were just in nail help and just using their length to kind of, you know, prevent a guy from Bam from thinking that's an open shot, and then he has to kick it out in this late shot clocks. And man, the Raptors are just on one accord tonight. You mentioned it, Z. It's so special and it's entertaining, especially as a fan, when you see them kind of play on one page like this. So hopefully they can keep that up going forward, because it's such a beautiful game of basketball to see when the Raptors are playing together like that.
And like you said, I don't think Miami's going to let that happen to them twice. If they did, I'd be very surprised. We talk about Heat culture and all that stuff. They're trying to figure it out themselves. But after you get beat down like that, they're not going anywhere. They're staying in Toronto. They're going to play this game in Toronto again on Thursday. You know the Heat are going to be pissed off about this. They were kind of feisty towards the end of the game here. You had Trace Jackson-Davis and I don't even remember the Heat player off the bench. Myron Gardner. They got into a little moment at the end of this game, but that just speaks to like the emotions of it, right? You're getting punked. You know you got to play these guys again, so you want to take any little advantage you can get out of this matchup. So it will definitely be interesting to see how the Heat and Raptors handle the second game on Thursday.
That's all for today's Big 3 in 30 NBA. If you follow football or college sports, the Big 3 in 30 has shows for the biggest news in the NFL and on campus going up every weekday just like this one. Just search the Big 3 in 30 NFL or the Big 3 in 30 College wherever you're listening or watching right now. Thanks again for tuning in to the Big 3 in 30 NBA.